If you're anything like me, you know when spring has arrived, not by the weather, the sun, the powerful rains, but by the terrifying sight of yellow dust covering anything and everything left outside for any amount of time. And the itchy nose, watery eyes, and constant sneezing that this plague of pollen often causes for so many of us. I am very jealous of you that don't experience this. Now, I was largely removed from this experience during my 2-year stint in Southern California, and experiencing yet another shift in seasons here closer to my hometown of Nashville, where I grew up, has reminded me of how beautiful it can be, despite the constant fear of forgetting to take my allergy pills. We emerge from winter to find that so much of the flora that surrounds us, which seemed so barren and lifeless in these past months, bursts into the world in floods of green and white, yellow and pink, and so many other vibrant shades. It's easy to take it for granted, the rebirth of this world around us. But for me, being away for those years allowed me to feel the first buds of spring all the more deeply. The feeling of hope that emerges from the dark and the cold. Just these past 2 weeks, I had the amazing experience of watching an orchid bloom in my home, a plant that was gifted to me in my first months here in Memphis, and that seemed to lay dormant for so long, leaving me unsure of whether the time and care I placed within it had all gone in vain. It's so easy to forget the cycles of the seasons in our modern lives. Many of us work indoors, buffered, thank God, by HVAC systems that shield us from the cold and refresh us in the blistering heat of summer. Our days pass, one to the next, sometimes blending together without distinction. This is why finding moments where we can mark time, distinguishing one moment, one day, 1 week, 1 month from the others is so important, and just so happens to be a central element of our Jewish tradition. As Rabbi Brad Artson writes in an article for the American Jewish University, our Torah's account of creation does not culminate with a sanctification of physical space, as it does in many of the ancient Babylonian myths, but instead, our account of creation culminates in the creation of holiness in time, the seventh day, Shabbat, the sacred day of rest. Creating sacred time, sanctifying time, lies at the core of Judaism. And nearly every holiday and joyous moment, we offer a shechianu, a blessing expressing our gratitude to God for enabling us to reach Hazman Hazeh, this particular time, this particular moment. But it is not just holidays that offer us opportunities for sacred time. They can be found in the many calendrical cycles that comprise the Jewish calendar year. Lately, thanks to individual study with a conversion student, I've been exploring a book recently published by my teacher at HUC in Jerusalem, Rabbi Dr. Dahlia Marks. And this book provides a guide through each month on the Hebrew calendar, each replete with readings, meditations, commentaries, and more. As she shows, each month has its own unique character, its own particular themes, spiritual resonances, and also includes their own associated zodiac sign for those of you who might be more astrologically minded. And each is associated not only with the tribe of Israel, but also with one of the 12 stones placed within the breastplate worn by the high priest in ancient days. So tonight, as we enter into the first hours of sacred time made holy by our coming together in song and in praise, we also stand on the precipice of a new Hebrew month, yet another sacred cycle in our calendar, and yet another opportunity for reflection, for hope, and perhaps even for rebirth. As we just offered in our blessing, on Tuesday we enter into the Hebrew month of Nisan, Now, the name of the month is actually different from the one that we find in the Torah, since this name came with the returning exiles from Babylon. It's actually the Babylonian name for the month, and does appear in later books of the Hebrew Bible, including the Scroll of Esther, which we just recently read for Purim. Now, what does it mean? Nisan, the word, means bud, which is similar to the Hebrew word Nisan, and both of these indicate a connection that this month has with the natural elements of spring. And it already indicates the larger themes of rebirth and renewal it comes to represent in the annual cycle. In general, Nisan is a month of beginnings. In it, we celebrate the creation of the Jewish people after the exodus from Egypt, our transformation from a familial clan to a diverse nation with a divine mission. This ancient story of redemption also serves as a glimmer of hope for the future, prompting the Babylonian Talmud to say that in Nisan we were redeemed, and in Nisan we will again be redeemed with the coming of the age of redemption. Nisan is also the first month of the year, so an early Happy New Year to everyone. Of course, this is one of 4 New Years that are on the Hebrew calendar. And there are even some ancient sages that claim that the universe was not created at the beginning of Tishrei on Rosh Hashanah, as came to be the dominant view, but instead was created in Nisan. So for those of us disappointed by having to wait all the way until October to renew ourselves spiritually, we're in luck. Our tradition provides us with many opportunities to begin anew, to become better, to see and to be buds of hope in the world. And this aspect of renewal in Nisan is not simply something that lives in our hearts or in our heads, but actually connects our spiritual selves with the physical world around us. In a unique Talmudic anecdote, we find a special blessing for when one sees trees blooming in the month of Nisan and smells their fragrance. The question is then posed, how do we know that we're supposed to recite a blessing over scents? The Torah states clearly that we must bless food. Why a blessing for scent? The answer, it's a very classic Talmudic strategy there. Pose a question and then answer your own question. The answer comes with a citation from the last verse of Psalm 150, Kol neshama tehallel, let everything that breathes, literally everything that breathes, but generally everything that lives, all living things, praise Adonai. And what is it? What is the thing from which a soul derives benefit that your body doesn't necessarily benefit from? And the only answer they can come up with is scent. Now, our ancient tradition saw a deep connection between breath, in Hebrew neshima, and the soul, neshama. It's the same root. And scent, being part of breathing, is seen as being also connected with the soul. So the buds of spring, the nitsanim, are not merely natural phenomena, but they are opportunities to connect more deeply with our soul. A chance to link the divine within to the breath of all life that surrounds us. This Nisan, as we are gifted with longer, brighter days and the occasional torrential rainstorm, and as we might busy ourselves with preparation for Passover or whatever madness the summer might bring us, I hope that we can all make a little bit of time, a little bit of sacred time for renewal. Some time where we can feel the buds of spring, not only in our nose and our eyes, but also in the depths of our hearts and our souls. With this new month, we have a new opportunity for rebirth, for appreciating all of that work we've done since this past Rosh Hashanah, and even the fruits that we're starting to see come to fruition. And guided by the natural world around us, may we see a new vision of hope for the future, for ourselves and for our world. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Let us say together, Amen.